Have you dreamed of bigger things for your life? Then you are in the right place. Each week, you will be given tips on how to change your inner dialogue, conquer your goals, and ways to step into a higher version of yourself. I'm your host, Lauren Kubat. I'm a motivational speaker who hosts personal development events. I'm a sought-after fitness instructor, a wife, and a mom of 2 young boys. I'm obsessed with all things personal development, and I believe anyone can achieve the life they want. Let the Become Your Vision podcast be the inspiration you need to step into greater things. Now let's go. You guys, before we get into the show, I wanted to share something exciting with you. If you've been listening to the show, it means you are into all things personal development, just like me. And I love listening to books on ways that I can improve, whether that be in business or fitness. I love to learn if it's something that I'm interested in. And the thing is, as a busy mom of 2 boys, I don't have time to sit down and read a book. That's why I have relied heavily on audiobooks. And I'm excited to announce that I have a special offer for you. I have partnered up with Audible, and you too can listen to books on your commute, which is my favorite way to listen, while you're getting ready for the day, in your shower with a waterproof Bluetooth speaker, or even on a walk. And the best part is you can try the service for free for 30 days. You can listen on your tablet, on Alexa, or even on your phone like I do. So you're going to head to audibletrial.com/becomeyourvision. That's audibletrial.com/becomeyourvision. And I have an amazing book recommendation for you. It's called Chasing the Bright Side by Jess Ekstrom. This book is a must read, or in my case, it's a must listen. It's all about how we aren't born with success or skills. It's about trying, failing, and getting back up. And Jess shares how she uses optimism to get through so many challenges. And I like that Jess talks to you like a friend, and she's super real. So if you're interested in getting your free month, head to audibletrial.com/becomeyourvision. And I will leave all this information in the show notes. I want you to start 2021 on a high note. Okay, let's get to the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Become Your Vision podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Kubat, and today I have Jenny Fisher, and she's also known as Fit Fish Mom on Instagram. So I just want to thank you so much for being here, and I'm just super excited to talk with you today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
Okay, so I want to share with the listeners and you actually, we've never met and in person. We just kind of been messaging back and forth, and somehow I found you on Instagram and I was completely drawn to your energy. And I don't know if it was like an Instagram like reels highlight of you like dancing, or it might have been
something stupid, probably
something crazy. Maybe it was like Burn Boot Camp, because I was a coach there for a little while, and
very cool.
In Somerville, yeah. And maybe it was you like doing backflips or something, but something about you was like, I was just like drawn to you. So I've been following your content. I think you're super hysterical. I think you're so real. And I love that you share just like awesome fitness tips and nutrition tips. So yeah, so thank you for being you.
Thank you so much. That's probably the best compliment I can ever get, is thank you for just being yourself. Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I have a good time. I think that my Instagram is kind of an outlet because my husband doesn't share the exact same sense of humor as I do. So I just let it out. Instagram. So thanks for appreciating it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when like you do stuff, is he like you're not funny type, or?
Pretty much. Yeah. He's like, why? I don't understand why that's funny. I'm like, well, 20 people message me, but it's hilarious.
You don't even
He's just a
know.
dude. He wants like the slapstick. He wants the slapstick humor. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But my girls get me.
I mean, to each their own, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to share a little bio on Jenny, but I'm going to start with the review of the week. This is from Lee Lil 2. She says, Lauren, or he or she actually, Lauren is truly such an amazing person. I've listened to a few episodes, and each one I hear proves to me that I need to make more time to listen. She is so sweet, positive, down to earth, relatable, and an incredible human being. I also feel like I come out the better version of myself after listening. I would highly recommend this podcast and can't wait to continue to listen. So thank you so much, Lee Lil 2. I have a Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts gift card for you. So just reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. Okay, so I want to give the audience some background. So, a little bio on you. So, Jenny Fisher is the accidental fit mom. Jenny has always had a passion for fitness, but after having two little boys, she realized that a diet of moderation and athletic movement was the key to achieving her best physical and mental health. She started sharing her quick at home workouts and fitness tips for her personal friends through social media, and now has a community of over 60K amazing, busy moms that crave common sense, balance, and attainable healthy lifestyle. She just launched her at home training program, Get Salty by Jenny Fisher, in December, like this past weekend, right?
Yeah. So it's
So
like 3
crazy.
days old.
3 days old.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah,
newborn.
it is. Yeah.
And she did this to provide an in depth training and nutrition guide for those that want to start training efficiently and effectively. Like, so amazing. Congratulations on that. I know that
Thank
had to
you.
be a crazy undertaking.
Yeah, it's because I'm a full-time working mother of two boys, like yourself, and your plate is very, very full already.
Mhm,
And I have this problem where I'm a people pleaser
mhm,
in the best way, though, that I think, where I really try to help people if they genuinely are asking for my help, and I
mhm,
feel like I can genuinely help them. So over the last like 2 years, I had so many requests about, do you have any online training? Can you be my personal trainer? I live in Charleston. I just don't have the bandwidth for it. But I eventually, after trying to figure out how to do it to where I could manage that on my plate, I
mhm.
had a company that develops this kind of stuff, and they manage all the back end stuff. And I went, okay, it's kind of a major investment, but that's the only way that I can do this, is if I,
Mhm.
I'm paying for that service. And my husband, thank God, he he got on my boat and he was like, all right, let's do this. So yeah,
That's
it's
so
been, yeah,
it's exciting, and I'm sure nerve-wracking and all
nerve
the
wracking.
things. Yeah, because you're like
Yeah.
you put so much work and heart into it,
Mhm.
and you're
Yeah.
constantly thinking about, okay, how can I improve this? How can I make it better? And so on and so forth. And it's like your wheels keep spinning, right? Like you're
Mhm.
constantly thinking about it.
I mean, much like starting a podcast equipment, and try to launch this thing. And I hope people are out there who want to listen, which, by the way, I gotta leave a review. I listened to a couple of your podcasts, and I was like, she has the sexy voice ever. Like,
Oh,
I'm gonna listen just for her voice because it is so soothing. And
oh
yeah,
my
but I now you're like, oh, that's creepy, Jenny. But yeah, it's totally, I'm gonna listen to it at
God.
night when I go to sleep, because I'm like, that is just the best voice ever.
Oh, you're
Anyways, back to
so
what you were
sweet.
saying.
No, you're so
Sidetracked
sweet.
you.
I'm like, it's funny when I say certain things, they're like, the Chicago is coming out. I'm like, um, but okay, so we're going to get all into about your program, but I want to go back to the very beginning. Like, have you always been into fitness and nutrition? Because like when I see, and most people, when they probably go to your Instagram, they're like, damn, she's so fit. So have
Mhm.
you always been like that?
Um, yes and no. So I say yes because I've always been an athlete. My family's, everybody needs to try team sports, or everybody's something to just engage them outside of school. And so I did competitive cheerleading, tumbling, gymnastics, soccer, all of that stuff very competitively.
Mhm.
So I then went to college and was on the dance team, which that was very competitive at NC State. Um, so I always had that. I always had a coach that would tell me what to do and things like that. And I took a weightlifting class in high school that showed me a lot about lifting weights that I'd never done before. So then that just opened up a door. But I think that I've always been attracted to just moving my body and seeing what my body could do. And because of that, I was never afraid to try things. And if you're not afraid to try things, there's so many more doors open to, okay, I can go to a yoga class. I might not be that great, but at least I can try it. And then, oh my gosh, I like it after 5 or 6 classes. And then, you do step aerobics with weightlifting, with anything like that. So because I had that, it opened so many doors for me to realize how much I really, truly enjoyed just being athletic. As far as the like personal training side of the professional side of it, I got into that when I was in college. I was serving at this really high-end restaurant in Raleigh, North Carolina called TGI Fridays. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a big deal. But, TGI Fridays, making bank like, $100 a night. It was crazy. But I was doing that. I was hustling, and I was having those server nightmares where you wake up in a cold sweat, like, oh my gosh, I didn't get table 5's tea. But my husband's like, at the time he was my boyfriend. He goes, I'm personal training. And he goes, you've got to get certified. You would be so good at this. People like being around you. You know what you're talking about. You just need to go through the classes to get certified. So I did, and I loved it. So that's kind of how I ended up making money in college. But, you go to college for a degree that's supposed to put you into this corporate life. And that's, for some reason, the track that I was on. So I got out of personal training and went into corporate sales and never looked back. So yeah, that's kind of my story of how all that evolved.
Okay, awesome. So it seems like super stalkerish because I keep referring to your Instagram, but that's how
That's how you know me. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh. I feel like I'm fangirling. I feel like a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm gonna meet a
No.
trusting celebrity tonight.
I don't, can I, so I don't know. It's so funny. I have people, occasionally they'll be like, this is so weird that I'm actually meeting a celebrity. And it always makes me pause. And I think what they mean is I'm meeting a personality that I see, like, cause nobody really knows me. I'm like, I have, 60,000 followers out of the 7 billion people on earth. It's not that many, but people get to know my personality and they kind of see my everyday life. And so I think that's probably what you mean is, my
Yes.
day in and day out. Cause I am an oversharer.
Yes.
So
I
kind
love
of
it.
force you to.
Yeah. Yeah. But okay, so in one of your posts you were saying that it took you some time to figure out like what worked best for your body and you were exercising and restricting calories like most of us do when we're trying to get the body we want because that's what we were told, and you weren't seeing the results you wanted. You were putting so much time and effort into feeling good in your own skin. So how and when did you find what worked best for you, not only through fitness results, but that actually like physique results, but that actually made you feel better and
Yeah.
that you weren't like constantly checking calories or things of that
Obsessing.
nature?
Yeah. Lauren, it's, I'll take you back a little bit so that everybody can kind of relate to know that I have been in those shoes hardcore. There
Mm-hmm.
was, my brother was getting married, to this woman, and she's a nice woman, but, she, at the time anyway, she had a way of giving backhanded compliments to other women. And when I would be around her, I would feel kind of self-conscious about myself. She would say things like, you're kind of a thick girl, or you're going to have a hard time when you have babies because you eat so much. And, those comments stick with you as a woman. And, so when my brother was getting married, I was like, okay, I'm going to shred down. I'm going to be the leanest that I could. So what I did was I ate nothing, but it was all like, it was a can of tuna and an apple. It was, protein pancakes, no syrup, maybe some peanut butter. And then at dinner, it was grilled chicken, broccoli, brown rice. And it was the same thing every day. Well, guess what? I got down to the lowest I've been since my freshman year in high school. And I felt good. I was like, oh, look at me. I'm checking myself out in the mirror. I'm looking skinny. I could see my abs coming through. And I get around my family at this wedding and they're like, girl, you need to eat. You are a bitch right now. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you need some carbs or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what happened after that, after I got back from the wedding, I binged on everything that I could see. It was almost like I hit that bar, showed everybody I could do it. And then I went back to real life. And I was like, forget this. This is too hard. I'm going to eat everything in sight. So I say that so that y'all know I really, truly have gone through that. And I can vividly remember those obsessing about things and not feeling good in my skin and having comments that just sat with me and affected me. But what you said about, when did things change so that it no longer played a part in your diet, but it no longer played a part in your mind either. I stopped obsessing. So the point that it shifted for me was after I had my first baby. And it was kind of like this priority shift of, okay, I don't care what I'm eating anymore. I'm not going to overeat, but I'm not going to care that maybe I want a Hardee's cheeseburger, but I'm only going to have the cheeseburger. I'm not going to get the fries. I'm not going to get an extra large like I used to. But, I was more into the baby schedule and keeping him, thriving and fulfilled than I was of what do I need to eat at 8 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, at 2. And that's what I used to do. And then also when I would go to the gym, my husband and I went probably 5 or 6 times a week, and we would go for like an hour and a half to the gym every night. And of course I can't do that anymore. I have a newborn. So if I did get to the gym, it was 45 minutes in and out. So everything just shifted, and all of a sudden my body's starting to respond because I'm eating less. I'm still eating the same kinds of foods, but I'm eating less. And my time at the gym is way more efficient. And I wasn't as stressed out about those things. I was stressed out as a new mother, but I wasn't stressed out about the aesthetic things that we normally are. And then all of a sudden I kind of looked at myself and went, oh my gosh, my body, I'm like healing from the pregnancy in a better body than I had before. And I'm not even really trying. It was the weirdest thing. And I started really evaluating, what am I doing so different? And the number one thing was I was eating appropriate portions for myself was one thing. But so that, to answer your question, that's when the light bulb went off for me.
Yeah, because it can be so overwhelming and daunting when you're like searching for this thing and you're like trying so hard and you just want to feel comfortable in your own skin. Like, doesn't everybody just want to feel good in their own skin? And it's like, people that are listening, it's like, we understand that frustration. Most people have gone through something, or somebody has said something to us that is like such a trigger, and that gives us slight and I don't know, the PTSD, for a lack of a better term. But where you're like, oh my gosh, and so let's talk about your workout. So we'll go into your program and everything like that. And I have, several other questions here, but when you had your newborn, what shifted for your workouts? Like, what were you doing instead of what you were doing before?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I was doing before was I would go in and I would lift really heavy compound Olympic lifts, which I still do, but I used to kind of focus on that. I would do 5 sets of that with a lot of rest in between. And then I would go and do maybe a couple mini circuits or supersets. And I would do so many of those with a ton of rest time. And now I go in and I'll do those Olympic lifts, but after I'm done with the first set, I'll go and do burpees in between and then go right into the next set. And I might still do 5 sets of those going up in weight, but I'm jumping rope in between. I'm doing something so that I'm getting so much more into that set. And then after that, I go in and do mini sets where it's nonstop. Like as soon as I'm done with one round, I might rest 30 seconds. And during that rest, I'm really thinking about bringing that heart rate down, getting my breathing back to normal. And as soon as it is, I'm right back to it. And I've also found that when I do that, it kind of gives me a new challenge of, how quick can I get my heart rate down? And so it's kind of a little competition with yourself and just eliminating rest times, adding more into the active rest times, if you want to call that, with some mountain climbers, jump rope, jumping jacks, anything like that, where it's not a lot of effort, but you're still burning effective calories while you're resting.
So
But that's maximizing my time.
okay. So, would you say like your time there? Because you said you used to spend like an hour and a half. What
Mhm.
typically do you spend on a workout amount of time?
Now,
Mm-hmm.
now it's 45 minutes, 30, 45 minutes.
30, 45
Yep.
minutes. So, and you would say,
Unless I'm in a class.
okay, okay.
Mhm.
So would you say you're doing HIIT type of training that works best for you, or do you kind of stagger or?
hmm So I am, and this kind of goes into the program that I developed, because I developed this program to work me out. It's
Okay,
something that I would sign up for. So I go in and I do my heavy lifting, and I'll mix HIIT in. So it might start out with a really heavy Olympic lift, and then I mix in heavy weights and HIIT the whole time.
gotcha.
It's all synonymous. But then I'll go into I'll take a yoga class. Like today, I took a yoga class this morning. So I try to get in that flexibility, balance, mobility part of it at least weekly now, which
Mhm.
that's different. Before I had babies, never would you see me in a yoga class. Never would you see me stretching after a workout. That was
Mhm.
just something I just didn't have time for. I didn't
Mhm.
know back then how beneficial those exercises were. So yeah, that's basically what I do is the HIIT heavy lifting, and then I do some form of mobility throughout the week as well.
And then when you're doing that heavy lifting, do you try to do full body or do you stick with a particular muscle group when you're doing the heavy lifting and then an alternating day you do the opposite muscle group or?
I am not I'm not that organized to plan things like
Mhm.
that. Because I have friends that are like, okay, on Mondays it's chest and triceps days,
Mhm.
on Tuesdays it's this. I was like that back in the day. Now I go in and I'm like, what am I feeling like working today? And I have conversations with myself all the time of what is going to motivate me? What exercise really do I really want to do? Do I
Mhm.
really want to do bench press today? All right, cool. Let's do some chest, as long as I didn't do it yesterday or the day before. So
Mhm.
typically I'll go in and kind of give a massive area of my body. So it'll be chest, tries, shoulders. It's not
Mhm.
ever going to be just triceps, biceps.
Mhm.
Or I'll do the pulling days, which is back and biceps, and then leg days. And then I'll go in and do a full body every once in a
Mhm.
while. But I think full bodies are the ones where I don't have a lot of time, and I'm not going to have a lot of time this week to come back in here. So let me just work it all.
Mhm. I love that because you're listening to your body and you're
Mm-hmm.
figuring out what works best for you. And there is so many people that get caught up, um, in that, like, even as a personal trainer and instructor, people always ask me,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, how many days a week should I be working this? How many days a week should I be working, like, whatever muscle group?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
say, just listen to your body. First and foremost, figure out what you like,
Mm-hmm.
and something that you can stay consistent with, and then
Yeah.
go from there. I think sometimes we get caught up in a specific routine and how we have to follow something a certain way. It's just like go and move your
Mm-hmm.
body, and then you'll feel
Yeah.
good. I think, because then if we over plan, then we're not going to want to do it, or we feel like we're
Yeah.
failing
Yeah.
if we don't stick to that plan.
Yeah, you just basically, that's my personality, is if I plan too much, I all of a
Hmm.
sudden start resenting myself if I can't follow it, or I start resenting the plan because I can't
Hmm.
divert from it. So that is purely my personality. Some people have type A's where they have to have it listed out for them. And if they're like that, they should know that about themselves and honor that.
Hmm.
I am somebody who I'm a free spirit. I need to be able to wax and wane with how I'm feeling. And if I
Yeah.
want to do something one day, then I'm going to do it. I don't want anybody telling me I can't. So
Hmm.
yes, I totally agree. You have to have some form of ability to understand your personality and what drives you and motivates you. And sometimes it's finding a personal trainer that helps you find that stuff if you're kind of new to the fitness journey.
For sure, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so you now have over 60,000 followers through social media. And if you're new to social media, that's a lot of people. So how did you start kind of gaining your traction in that and making a name for yourself in the fitness industry?
Mhm. I did not mean to, I did not mean to do any of this. So I
Mm-hmm.
got on, I used to post like exercise tips on my personal Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I always felt like it was very, oh, I'm such a good girl. Look what I do. Look how talented I am. That's how I felt it was coming across, when really it was like, I want to motivate my friends, but it's coming across narcissistically is how I looked
Mm-hmm.
at it. So I went, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to just put it out there that I'm putting a page out there for
Mm-hmm.
guidance. So I had like 3 friends in 1 week come up, and one asked me, what are some exercises that I can do for this? One asked, what kind of nutrition should I, be looking into? And my mom asked me
Mm-hmm.
some workouts she could do at home. So I went, okay, 3 people asked me this stuff. Obviously, people know me as somebody who has a wealth of knowledge. I'm not an expert in this, but I really know myself and I know how to work myself out. So let me just do these like little 15-minute workouts. And my vision was my girlfriend, Deanna, who loves to cook. And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have time. I don't have time to work out. And I'm like, okay, let me think of Deanna. She's got kids running around, she's cooking, she's got a dog running around, but she can do this 12, 15-minute workout in her kitchen while she's cooking. So
Mm-hmm.
I started posting those. That's all I posted were 15-minute workouts. And in like a month or so, I had 500 followers. I was like, whoa, I would just put that up for my personal friends. This is pretty cool. Like apparently other busy moms really are attracted to this. So
Yeah.
I just kept going, and people kept getting on board. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it'll be 3 years in April that I've been doing this. And it's just, I think if you give a value add out there, people will respond to it, whether they want it or
Mm-hmm.
not.
Right. That's amazing. That's so cool. And one of my favorites, I guess you link your TikTok to your
Yeah.
stories. You guys, I think you should follow Fit Fish Mom just to see like your amazing, like if not anything else, your dances. So like you come
Oh,
up,
thanks.
you were a choreographer before or are
Yeah.
or
I
okay.
was, I used to choreograph for high school cheer and dance teams when I was in college. And girl, that's a really lucrative job. If you're a college student and you have a knack for choreography, I used to come home with like thousands of dollars for a weekend of doing this. And I'm like, does anybody else know about this? It's a lot of money for a college student.
Oh
But
my God.
yeah, so I choreographed, and now I just dance for fun.
And that takes, I don't know, that takes a lot of work because that's a skill that a lot of people don't have. And that's probably why they invested in you because I would come up with some like random stuff because I love to dance too, but
Yeah.
it's a
Oh,
skill
cool.
because you have to teach people too. And then you're like,
Yes.
well, does this work for the song? Can everybody do it? That type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
So that's so fun. Okay, so I think it's really important to note, and you've mentioned this before, you have a full-time job, you have a
Mhm.
husband, you have 2 active, boys,
Yes.
and you still make health a priority. So, what advice do you have for busy moms that find it challenging to like squeeze in time for exercise?
Yeah. I think that if you're still viewing it as having to squeeze it in,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of looked at as a chore. Um, so that would be the first thing I would tackle. And I'm not saying stop thinking about it as a chore. No, that's honestly how you look at it. And so what I would say is you probably haven't found the fitness class or type of fitness that really, really brings you out, even if it is
Mm-hmm.
going to a half yoga, half Zumba, flying around like ribbons in the air fitness class.
Yeah.
If that is your jam and that motivates you to get there, do
Mm-hmm.
it. Like there are so many types. There's Tai Chi. There's so many ways to move. So that would be my advice is if you're kind of like, I just haven't found anything that really speaks to me and motivates me, go try typically gyms will let you in for free. A studio will let you in to try it for free one time.
Mm-hmm.
Just see if something clicks, and maybe it's a certain instructor that you will gravitate to as well. um, the whole the whole reason I started doing what I'm doing is for those people that they love movement, but they didn't know how to put it together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, here, let me put it together for you. Do 3 rounds of this, and
Mm-hmm.
you're good. So they can just kind of get it done real quick and get on with their life. But yeah, that would be my first piece of advice is realize that you're looking at it as a chore and try to alter that somehow. Try to find a motivation to make you want to look at it as more of an opportunity than a chore.
I've heard this line before that reframing it to, I get to do this. I don't have to do this, because there are plenty of people that would love, wish, hope, pray to be in that position to move their body. It's such, I think sometimes we take health, what's the lack, what's the
I probably do this all the
for
time.
granted ding ding ding, I get a prize. Like we're like, it's amazing that we can move our bodies.
I know. I did like a yoga flow thing tonight, just to kind of show everybody 10 minutes of a yoga flow is still beneficial. And one of my girlfriends was like, wow, you're really strong. I bet you could do this move. And she sent it to me, and I'm like, first of all, I've never seen that. Second of all, that looks insane. Third of all, let me drop down while I'm cooking in the kitchen and just try it. I look at those things as I'm like, well, I have an able body. Let me try it. I might as well try it. And lo and behold, I was pretty successful at my first attempts. I'm like, cool. But it's things like that where you look at it as, I have this body. I'm so thankful for how it moves. And, after I'd had my baby, I stopped thinking about the aesthetics, and I started thinking about the challenges that I could do at the gym too. That was another shift in my mindset that I always forget that I had was, okay, instead of going and just doing your 24-inch box jump, because that's what is prescribed, it's been what I've done for the last 5 years. Let me try 30 inches and just see what happens. And wow, I got that. Let me see what 33 inches looks like. And so I started setting these like athletic goals. I can do a handstand against the wall, but what happens if I, do some handstand walks? All of a sudden I'm doing handstand walks. And so that pushing myself and upping the ante. And it wasn't anybody telling me I should do anything. I would just look at something and go, that looks like fun. Let me see if my body can do that. And again, that was another just motivator for me, because I started moving my body like that. My body started transforming into that athlete. So that was another transformation for me.
Setting these goals that are actually fun and enjoyable.
Exactly.
Okay, so your new program is called Get Salty by Jenny Fisher. And first of all, I love that name. It's awesome.
Thanks.
So how did you come up with the name? And tell us all the things about your program, what it looks like, what kind of workouts, how long?
Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity to explain it. So Get Salty, it was going to be the Fit Fish app. And I was like, people are going to think it's for like fishermen getting fit. That's not going to work for me. That's a stupid name. So I'm talking to my sister, I'm working, I'm driving, and I'm like, hey girl, I need your help. So I came up with Salt, and she goes, that sounds like it's like a supplement company. And I went, okay. So I said, what about Get Salty? Get strong, get agile, get limber, thrive. Like salt is in there. And she was like, I love it. And she's like, and you live at the beach. Fit Fish Mom kind of is intertwined in there. So I thought salty was like a little bit of being just a BA woman, like, I'm salty. Don't mess with me. Don't mess with me. Even though I'm pure, I'm pure. I'm strong in who I am, but don't mess with me. So it just made sense for me. But, so get strong, get agile, get limber. It's got 3 components to every session. It has 12 mini sessions within a 36-minute session. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So 3 12-minute blocks. And you start with your strength training with your heavier weights or your heavier resistance bands. And then you go into a 12-minute mini session of HIIT and muscular endurance agility portion, very athletic movements. And then the very end session is about balance and flexibility, the limber portion of it. Because I think that mobility portion, it's low impact. A lot of people avoid it because they don't feel like they're actually getting an effective training session, when those are the things we shouldn't be overlooking as we're growing older. So those 3 things I put together as an entire unit. However, if you're somebody like me and you're like, I don't want Jenny Fisher telling me what I need to do that day. I'm feeling like I want to do a little bit of just HIIT today. So you can go and do all of my 12-minute mini session hits if you want to, or my mini session strength training sessions if you wanted to. So you can kind of build them like Legos.
Oh, I love that. So, would you recommend these workouts for somebody you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't worked out in forever since, quarantine started.
Hmm.
I'm a little intimidating. Like, would you recommend that to somebody? What kind of blocks would you have them choose right away? What
Hmm.
suggestions do you have?
One of my mom's friends, she's maybe 68, 70. She was a former athlete in her high school days. So you could tell that she can, she can move athletically, but she's almost 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She's having surgery this week on her knee. And she reaches out and she's like, Jenny, what would you recommend I do? And I'm like, you can absolutely do my program. You
Mm-hmm.
can do just the strength training programs with light weights,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do the mobility, the balance and flexibility portions. They're all low impact, and they're about moving your body in a very functional way. So there's something for everybody, even for somebody who's getting a knee replacement. She would probably want to avoid the hit portion because
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be your high impact, that kind of thing. But those other two, it would be perfect for her. So yeah. And then you've got somebody like me who's like, okay, I've worked out all my life. I just want something different. I want a catalog of a bunch of different little 12-minute workouts that I can do. That's there too.
That's awesome. And I feel like sometimes people are afraid to make modifications for themselves, but you have to be able to listen to your body. And
Hmm.
I think the hardest part is just getting started sometimes because I have
Hmm.
women in my classes that are in their teens and then 20s, and I have majority of my clientele is late 50s, early 60s
Hmm.
in the
Yeah.
classes that I
Oh.
teach, and it's like I love when I see these women that are doing, like, instead of a jump squat, they're doing a squat with a knee up and they're still
I
elevating that heart rate,
love
but they
that. Yes.
aren't, doing that hard impact where they're landing
Hmm.
hard on the floor. And it's like,
Hmm.
these women are so inspiring because they're like, I can do this. I'm just going to do it my own way where I'm not
Yeah.
going to injure myself, if I feel like
Yeah.
I'm, prone to that.
That is, so I've been a group fitness instructor and led a ton of classes. And those are the people that I always make sure I'm like, that's an awesome modification. I love that. Let me show that real quick. And so
Right.
I try to make them feel empowered. Like I'm learning from you. So
Mhm.
there's no intimidation here. That wall is not there. The problem with my Instagram that I run into is because I'm kind of freakishly athletic with my ex gymnastics and all that stuff. I do have people that they're like, I can't do a back tuck. Why would I
Mhm.
follow you? And I'm like, I would never ask you, first of all, to do that. Second of all, if I did want you to do a back tuck burpee, guess what? I'm going to modify the hell out of that thing for
Right.
everybody to be able to do that. Because every single movement that you see can be modified down. And
Mhm.
while I'm coaching through Get Salty, so the difference between my Get Salty sessions and what I put on Instagram is on Instagram, you're seeing the movement. Sometimes it's timed, but it's to music. I'm not talking at all. It's just me moving.
Mhm.
And that's helped a ton of people. I'm very, very thankful for that. The Get Salty thing is me actually working out with you the
Mm.
whole time. And I'm giving you verbal cues of, okay, this is how you're going to modify this. Also, hey, check in with me. How is your breathing? Do you need to take it down a little bit or can you step it up? So I'm talking to both of those groups because I've been in that situation where I'm about to die and I think I'm going to pass out.
Mhm.
And because the coach isn't giving me that cue of it's okay to step it back, you look like you're gonna pass out, I just keep going. So I want to make sure people feel comfortable of listening to their body and having success in that session instead of dying through it.
Right. And I think that's great that because a lot of people need that help of, like, a coach. And
Mm-hmm. That's
especially
exactly what it
with,
is. Yeah.
yeah, with gyms shutting down and things like that, you need kind of somebody walking you through that. And
Mm-hmm.
I always find it motivating when the instructor is doing the workout with you because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they're feeling this too. And it's
Yeah.
good for the coach too, because you're like, oh, maybe we don't need to do it for that long because I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling it. So I think that
Yeah.
would be
I've never understood understood classes where the instructor doesn't do it unless they're like some celebrity instructor that's earned that right. But I feel so awkward not doing it. And yoga is different because yoga is all about the cues and they're walking around helping people. But everything else, I'm like, why would you not? Like I took a Soul Cycle class in New York one time, and the instructor had a demo girl doing everything, and she's just walking around, and I'm like, I'm gonna die, and you haven't pedaled once.
Right. You don't even know.
You have no idea.
Oh my gosh. I love, I went to a Soul Cycle class in Chicago and I love it. They didn't have a demo
Yeah,
girl, but the guy was amazing. I don't know, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but
it's a
like,
fun class.
it's just like that mind, body, soul connection.
Yeah.
And actually that's my favorite class that I teach is it's called Ride at the gym I teach, but,
Yeah.
just connecting the mind to the body and
Yeah.
turning off the
It's
lights and
almost like fitness church, you know. Church is a gathering of people sharing, you know, yeah. And that's what it is when you get into it and all of a sudden you start thinking a lot bigger than just that exercise.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so for with your program, would you, okay, so if somebody's hearing this and they're like, "Oh my gosh, okay, great. I want to get started. I want to sign up." How many
Mhm.
days a week do you recommend them starting? How many minutes, like the different blocks that
Mhm.
you recommend? And then do you talk about nutrition on your program?
Yeah. Um, okay. So to answer the question of how often all that stuff, it is totally it's a personal thing.
Hmm.
And the reason I say that is because if I'm starting, let's say I had a baby 7 months ago and I'm just now starting to get back into fitness, you're probably going to want to take it a little bit slower. So I'm not going to tell you to do 5 days of this.
Hmm.
Um, I am releasing 2 full programs a week, plus doing a live that will be available later that week on
Hmm.
demand. So you're essentially getting 3 full sessions every single week released. But because they're broken up into mini sessions, you can build and change up the workout however you want. So for somebody like me who is used to fitness 5 to 6 days a week,
Hmm.
I would probably say follow this program between 3 and 5 days, and then maybe go run or do something different that's, you know, just change it up. But somebody who's just starting out, I would just say go in, play with it, do a session, take a rest day, do a session, kind of
Yeah.
fill it out, see how your body feels. Maybe you want to do one day of just 2 mobility low impact sessions one day, and you know, make it your own. But yeah, it's hard to answer that because everybody's so different, and that's
Hmm.
why I built it the way I did, where you can kind of build it like Legos, however you want.
Right.
As far as the nutrition thing goes, I have a degree in nutrition from NC State, and I'm not a registered dietitian,
Hmm.
and I don't believe in restricted diets.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I'm not going to do meal plans, meal preps, anything like that, because that is not something that I would do myself. So I would never ask anybody to do that.
Hmm.
But what I do is something called my nutrition corner, where I give a lesson every day. I'm trying to keep it under 2 to 3 minutes so that it's a quick, never thought about it that way. Let me go out and just try this little portion control tip and see what that feels like on me. Let me see if I can change this part of it slowly and progressively and sustainably.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is I come up with little recipes that I feel like are super easy, very accessible to people. And there's a recipe book in there as well that I'm always adding to.
Oh, that's amazing. And going back to what you said too about working out a certain number of days, I think it's
Mhm.
important to note you want to pick something too that you're going to be consistent with. I think, you know, New Year's is right around the corner. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I have huge goals. I'm going to work out, you know, 6, 7 days a week. And then what ends up happening is you're like, oh, you know, this is too hard, you know, and you're trying to
Yeah.
run a marathon when you haven't run a mile, you know?
Yep.
So, you know, I think I like that what you recommended to kind of getting a feel for it and playing with it and giving yourself self some time to experiment. I think there's
Hmm.
experimentation is like underrated. You know, I think we want to be told sometimes like, do this, do that, do it now, do it, you know,
Yeah.
eat this, eat that. And it's like, well, who is going
Mhm.
to be there when your coach isn't there, your, nutritionist isn't there, whatever, it's listening to your body and what feels good for you. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, and
going
I love
in,
that. It's all about being able to. Oh, hey,
yes, sorry, the internet, I hope.
can you hear me?
Yes, let's see. It's cutting out.
Okay, hold
Okay, now I can see your. Oop. Okay, I can see you.
on.
Okay.
Technical difficulties.
That's okay. I was like in the beginning
I
too.
just
I
needed
hope
a second to. I just needed a second to grab my wine. That was.
you do you. um,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry, were you going to add to that? That's when it cut out.
Oh, I was saying that, yeah, that is my whole thing is people try to cold turkey things and ramp this huge program up and go, I have to do this. This is part of my program. This is part of my plan, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have grace and these like flexible boundaries,
Hmm.
if you fail, all of a sudden you're like, well, failed that. Guess I'm going to just quit because I can't do that. Instead of this mentality of let me slowly adjust things, let me sit in it and see if that's comfortable. If it is, I can adjust it further or I can add in something different. And it's, yeah, grace is the biggest thing is stop giving yourself these rules and guidelines that you have to fixate on, because if you don't do it, you start resenting everything
Hmm.
and just everything blows up. So yeah, these gradual changes are the best. That's been my growth, is I change things gradually. Like I'm not vegan, but I am much more plant-based now than I was 2 years ago, much more, because I
Hmm.
just slowly started adjusting to that.
Hmm. That's actually a great segue into this next question is I was going to ask you what type of diet, and I use the term diet, and I want to
Mhm.
just tell listeners again, everybody has a diet. I think when we hear the
Exactly.
word diet, we think restriction, like I need to go on a diet, quote unquote diet. Your toddler
Mhm.
has a diet, it's just
Yeah.
simply what you put in your body. So you said you follow more of a plant-based diet more so than what you used to before. Did you discover that you felt better eating more plants, or did you have like some kind of like health changes, or how did you get onto finding out that you feel better when you eat more plants?
Um, I think I used to sell pharmaceuticals and I
Mhm.
sold a lot of psychiatric medicines, and I sold something
Mm.
called Linzess, which was for IBS constipation. And so, no, I'm not even close to being a medical doctor, but
Mhm.
when it comes to those particular drugs, I knew them in and out, and I knew those disease states fairly well. You know, I
Mm.
was dangerous about them. And I would have these conversations with psychiatrists and GI doctors. And I kept thinking, I was like, there's something that seems to be connected with these two disease states, IBS and depression, anxiety. They
Mhm.
seem so like the patient is the same person. And my husband works in life science industry, and
Mhm.
they're always talking about metabolomics and metabolism and gut microbiome. So he and
Mhm.
I would have these discussions, and I'm like, I really think something is happening in our gut with our gut bacteria that we're
Mhm.
not talking about enough. And he also, by the way, has a nutrition degree from NC State.
Mhm.
So he was like, yeah, I talked to this researcher from Harvard and he was talking about this. And I'm like, yeah, I talked to this GI doctor and he was talking about this. So then I'm talking to Dr. Bolsewicz, who is
Mhm.
the gut health MD. Okay. So
Fiber
he's
fueled.
in, he is fiber fueled. Yep. He's the author of Fiber Fueled, and he is a Charleston treasure. Like the fact
Mhm.
that he lives here is pretty cool because he's revolutionizing the way people are looking at gut microbiome and plant-based
Mhm.
eating. So I'm talking to him as a sales rep, and we're just having this conversation about gut microbiome. And he's like, yeah, I'm actually really into this. I have a book that I'm thinking about and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, this is how I feel. He goes, you're spot on about that. I'm like,
Mhm.
really? I said, I always thought plants and microbiome and all this stuff had something to do. And he's like, yeah. So he starts telling me all about how plants are really, like, diversity of plants are the only thing that are going to facilitate your gut microbiome becoming a positive population of bacteria. That is the only thing. It's the prebiotics that come from those food sources that are building that positive gut population. So I have, because of that, that has motivated me to go, well, if I can impact my health positively, why not? Like, it's every time I eat something green or plant-based, I'm like, my tummy loves it. And my boys know it. I'm like, yeah, make sure you eat all your vegetables first. I don't care about the meat. Eat all your vegetables, because that's what's making your tummy happy, and that's what's making you healthier. We still eat meat in my family because I don't believe in eliminating anything. My husband loves to eat meat. So I'm like, yeah, we can do this at dinner. So I have meat, but the emphasis is always on the plants in our house.
I love that. I actually just got Dr. B's book, Fiber Fueled, and it's one of those. He's very intelligent, and I'm like one of those.
Funny.
I'm like, oh my God, Googling words, and I'm like, that's it. That's in my body. I didn't know that was there, but
Love
um,
that.
it was one that I'm like, and I literally have a notebook, and anytime I have a question or a thought, or he mentions a new word, I write it down, and I'll share that more with listeners once I finish, because I have a lot of people messaging me. They're like, how do you like the book? And I'm like, I'm going through it, and he has an interesting story too, but that emphasis on plants. And I in another episode, it was actually with Heather Black, I was sharing about when I was keto, and it worked for a period of time, but it wasn't sustainable. It was after I had our second son, and I was, not feeling good about myself. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back on keto. And then my husband and I were doing it together, and he was seeing all these results, and we got the pee strips, and he would be, in ketosis, and I was not. And I would get frustrated because we eat the same thing. And I'm like, this does not feel good. So, you get to a point where you're like, maybe not so much,
Sucks being a woman sometimes.
Right? I'm like, yeah, what? WTF.
Yeah, I did the whole the low carb thing. It wasn't, I guess Atkins was big at the time when I was coming out of college. So I didn't do truly Atkins, but I was like, oh, carbs are bad. Like, I can't have carbs. That's terrible. It's making me fat. So I would eat nothing but like meat and peanut butter, tuna fish. It's interesting though. So that was one of the things my husband learned from these researchers that he was working with. He's like, yeah, he goes, these guys are talking about this gut microbiome. And he's like, there's only two things that are making the gut healthier. He goes, that's plants and breast milk. He's like, well, we can't take breast milk on the regular. So, that's what we're going to have to look at. He goes, and then you got all these people that are doing keto and, these high meat-based things. He said, and it's great. It gives you these results. He said, but what the researchers found was as soon as you stop, and it only takes 24 hours of a certain diet to affect your microbiome, your population of gut bacteria. But he said these people would go on these diets, they would stop, and it's not like your good bacteria would just come back and flourish. Now those bad bacteria have taken over, and it is like, it's that much harder to get your gut microbiome back to a homeostasis that it needs to be at. So then every time you go on these yo-yo diets, it's getting worse and worse and worse in there. So yeah, you looked good for that minute and your gut microbiome suffered. So that's the biggest thing that I'm like, oh, stop dieting if you can. But it's dieting is a kind of a marketing monster that's very hard to stop.
And it could be a vicious cycle too, because then you get different information from all different angles, and you're like, well, what do I believe? Scientists are constantly, contradicting each other. And it's like, you got to do what feels best for you, and do your research and pick and choose from each different, types of research, and figure out what works best for you,
What's sustainable?
That's sustainable. Yep. And then as humans, we're constantly evolving. Like what I thought a year ago, 2 years ago, I'm contradicting it now, because you evolve and you learn and you become better and your hormones change and, all the things. So
absolutely. Which is one of the reasons I have a nutrition degree, but you will never hear me say anything about end all be all nutrition, anything. I'm like, I don't restrict anything. And that is because I know that science is always evolving with nutrition. We know probably 1% of what we should about what goes into our body and how it's affecting us. So who am I to tell you what to do with your body? I tell you what I do and what's worked for me. And if you want to try that, that's awesome. But I will never tell you you should do this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I have one more question, and then I have like, well, I guess I say one more question, but then the last couple are just kind of like spitfire questions, kind of personal
All right.
questions. Um, so you touched on this, but so a lot of people have, like we said, huge goals and they're struggling to feel good in their own body. What advice do you have for someone who is just like simply intimidated to get started or
Mhm.
might have like mom guilt for getting a workout in?
Yeah, it's so hard to answer because that's such a psychological thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the more confidence you have, I feel like the better you're going to perform in a athletic situation. So if that is something that maybe if you are feeling so inside of your head every time you think about going to exercise or every time you walk into a studio,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's the first thing you want to tackle. Maybe go on some walks in your neighborhood so so you're still moving and all that. But seeking out a therapist
Mm-hmm.
might be my best piece of advice on that. If that is something that seriously has kept you from finding your fit for this long, ain't no shame in talking to somebody and talking it through. And that is, I try to give pointers about just being confident in your skin all the time on my Instagram, because I feel like that's half the battle for a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other part of your question? Sorry.
Um, Guilt trip or mom
The
guilt.
mom guilt.
Yeah.
Mom guilt. I've never had the mom guilt thing. I did this thing where when I had my first baby, I figured out how to, because I didn't want to take him to a filthy gym nursery when he's 3 months old.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually I took him to that filthy gym nursery, but not when he was 3 months old.
Yeah.
So, but I would leave him with my husband. And probably when he was about 5, 6 months old, I was like, okay, taking him to the gym. He loved it. You got to play with new toys. He loved
Mm-hmm.
them. So I was like, here, it's an opportunity for him to play. So
Mm-hmm.
he got to play for 45 minutes. I got my workout, and then we would leave. So I did not have that mom guilt. I looked at it as he gets playtime with new people. They love seeing him. It works. It's great. Then I had my second baby, and we were going to the gym, and I kind of felt like my older kid was aging out, like he was getting bored there. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I was like, this just isn't working like it was. Like my little one now is thriving.
Yeah.
He loves going, but the older
Yeah.
one just seems bored.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped taking them to the gym, and I started getting creative with my workout. So if I had a lunch break that I wasn't working, I would go in and go do a quick 30-minute session somewhere. Or talk to my husband and go, listen, I'm going to work out with my friend Brooke out in the front yard, and we'll be out there for 45 minutes. Let me know if you need anything. And you just kind of figure it out. But the biggest thing about that is if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not showing your kids that lifestyle, it's going to be harder for them to learn it too. My mom used to take me she used to teach aerobics, and girl, when I tell you she taught aerobics, she was like in the leopard print thong with the yoga pants under him. Oh girl, this
Oh
woman,
God.
she was dynamite. But she'd teach step aerobics and dance aerobics, and I would be in the back of the class, and I'd kind of, move along with them. But I got to see my mom do this all the time, and I just thought, wow, that's so cool. And that obviously had an impact on me. But yeah, and then my boys all the time are like, Mom, I love working out with you. Let's go to do a workout. Let's go play soccer or something. So keep in mind, you don't always have to do fitness by yourself, exclusive from your kids. If you're really having that mom guilt, include them in something. They probably love to hang out with you.
Yeah, I love that. And you lead by example too. If you want them to feel good about themselves and live a healthy life, you have to lead by example, and you get a break. Like, I don't know what I would do. Like, my boys are little,
Mhm.
2 and 4, and well, almost two.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, you get a break. And they're having
Mhm.
fun. Like, why wouldn't you, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, So here are my spitfire questions. What is your favorite muscle group to work? We'll start with that one.
Favorite muscle group to work is probably, oh man, probably my back if I'm at the gym with weights,
Okay.
because I am freakishly strong with my back. So I like to like push those limits. But if it's not at the gym, if it's just a body weight workout or something like that, it's always my legs, because I feel like I can do these track style athletic movements.
Mm.
And yeah, I love the athleticism of my legs. I love the strength of my back. So two exclusive answers to that.
That's awesome. So what it would be your least favorite?
um, I call them the pretty muscles, like the triceps and biceps. I
Okay.
think it's just bullshit to work those exclusively. Now I do that. So in my program, I will do that with like, so if we're doing a pushing day, I
Yeah.
will incorporate triceps and things like that. But to, I just, and you get that like nagging, burning feeling in your tricep, and you're just like, son of a bitch, like that hurts. So yeah, those are, I would leave those out if I had to.
So that's so funny because those I like to work those ones. And you said the back. I'm like, I don't even see my back. Like, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just funny. Everybody has like their own thing.
Yes.
And by looking at you, you would think that you work your biceps all the time because
Really?
yes, because your arms are so sculpted, so toned, like it looks like you could probably like lift a whole car. Um,
Thanks.
you're like,
But I think that's, I always say, I never work my biceps, but I always work my biceps,
right.
because, when you're doing
Yeah.
these functional movements, they're
Yeah.
getting worked. So yeah.
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 I
But
love
thanks for
that.
that.
Yeah, of course. Okay. What's your favorite food?
um, okay. Cheat food, or like something that I would eat on the regular, because those are,
Okay. Let's start with cheat food because that's the fun one.
okay. And I call it cheat food because that's how people
I,
know it. But
yeah.
I do take away my, I count calories during the day, just naturally. I stay within a threshold because I know that's all I need. But on the weekends, I love eggplant parmesan from Savvy Cucina. Oh my God.
Mm,
Like, I'm thinking about it right now. It's so good. And they know, they're like, oh, this one's for Jenny. She orders delivery with the eggplant parm all the time. So good.
I
So
think they
good.
need to sponsor you.
Oh my gosh. They're actually friends of mine, and the
Oh, okay.
fact that they have a restaurant that is amazing. I am like, this is heaven. Thanks. But okay, so my favorite food, I'm just gonna say fruit in general,
Okay.
because, and it kind of goes back to my motivation of eating such diversity in plants, that I
Mm,
know it, like I love going to the store and seeing. The other day I was like, oh, what's a kumquat?
mm.
Never bought this before. I'm going to buy this, and found out it was amazing. So I like to get funky fruits and just try them and see how they work out.
That's awesome. So, okay, when you going back to that nutrition, I kind of want to add to that or,
Mhm.
ask about this is so when you are thinking about your day and you're thinking about the health choices and you're trying to, feel good and not just like grab something quick. So you pay attention to your
Mhm.
calories and then you try to get the most number of plants. Is that kind of how you got, schedule your
Yeah,
day as
I
far
mean,
as nutrition?
that's not a bad way to look at it. When I was younger, I counted calories so much and kept so many tracker apps that I just now know how much
Mm,
each food is worth. I can eyeball something and go, okay, it's got that, 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 that. It's probably 400 calories.
mm,
And I'm pretty spot on when I do those. So what I suggest to somebody who's trying to get to that is track your foods, not obsessively, not in a way that you're trying to restrict yourself, but just as an education of, huh, how much is this, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, tablespoon of honey on this toast that I just made.
mm.
And you'll go, oh crap, that's 400 calories. I thought this was diet food, and so it's that's an education in itself, is just understanding the worth of each food item that you're eating. But yes, so I portion control, and I have learned through experimenting, like you said, it's better to experiment with yourself than restrict. But I have experimented with myself so much that I've learned if I stay under about 1,800 calories a day,
Mm.
and that includes my wine that I drink every single night, I will maintain my weight, whether I'm working out or not. I will maintain my weight. So I just go, okay, I just need to standard that. How do I do that? I will block each of my meals off. So now I'm budgeting for each meal, not the whole day. And that is less intimidating to me. So if I know that, okay, my husband's taking me to Hall's for a special dinner tonight, I'm going to get a steak and mashed potatoes and all that stuff. I probably should maybe just have like an RX bar this morning. And then for lunch, I'll have a 400 calorie shake. And then I can reserve all of my calories for the end of the day. And that makes me happy because it gives me something to look forward to. And it doesn't make me feel like I'm starving because I'm eating appropriate amounts of food. But yes, so I meal block and portion out my foods and calorie count. And I try to make sure the majority of my food source is plant-based.
Okay. So in a typical day, and you work too, do you travel for work? Are you on the road a lot or?
I'm a road warrior. So I cover the whole state of South Carolina and Savannah.
Okay.
And I drive at least, I probably drive 12 to 14 hours a week.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Like a given week. Yeah. So I
And
listen to your podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, Charleston traffic is not bad. I've lived in cities where traffic was bad.
I'm reminding you, Christmas time.
Do you hear my Alexa?
I'm reminding you.
Amazon. Thank you. You're good. You can shut off. I tell you, these freaking machines in our house, I can't. My husband's like, we're going to smart house the whole thing.
I'm reminding you.
Amazon. Hush. He's like, we're going to smart house the entire thing. And so I'm like,
I'm reminding you.
oh my God, hold on. Una más.
You're totally fine.
Oh my, I'm going to need you. I'm going to need you to hush.
You. Christmas time.
So
Christmas time.
Christmas time, which means, you know what that means? We have to move our elf on the shelf.
Oh.
Because we failed to do that.
Oh, yes. I thought it meant something else. I was like, it is 9:30.
Girl, it's Christmas time.
It's Christmas time. That's your husband's reminder for you.
I'm shy. That is forever going to be called Christmas time.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
It is getting late. I don't want to keep you any longer because I'm just so happy that we were able to talk. So 2 more questions is, do you ever doubt yourself or your mission? And if so, what helps you get through those like days of doubt?
Yeah, I think everybody does. Especially with social media, sometimes it's rough because you'll have some weeks where you're getting so much interaction from people. You're getting all of these follows for some reason. And then all of a sudden there will be this lull and you're like, I didn't do anything different. Why does everybody hate me? And I, it lasts about probably 10 minutes because I'll have those moments and I'm like, wait, who cares? Like, why does anybody even care? And that's what brings me back is I'm fine. My kids are fine. I'm thriving. I still have this amazing community of social media people or just people on some social media. So why do I care? And that's how I talk myself out of it. And whenever I'm in those places, I always hear my sister's voice. She's like, girl, give it to God, it to God, let him take it. And that right there is like, just totally lifts. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Cause I think we all have that type of feeling. And like what you said, social media can be, it can be great, but then it can
messes
just
with you sometimes.
It does. It's like, I heard this book I'm reading, it's called Chasing the Bright Side. And she says like, just because you hear crickets doesn't mean nobody's listening. And I was like, that's so true. I don't know. It just resonated with me. I like that one.
No, that's actually spot on because I think those days I will get a message from a woman that I've never met and it'll be a freaking page long of how I've impacted her life. And that right there is like, oh girl. And I will let them know. I'm like, I needed that more than you think I did. So thank you so much for that. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. Sometimes we need that verbal affirmation so much. And when it's not there, we feel a different way about it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Last one. Do you have a role model who inspires you? It could be maybe like an author or a book that you always think about, but something that you're like, oh, I look up to that person, or that book really changed the way I view something.
Um, I honestly have two role models. And I'm not saying this because I'm just trying to answer your question. This is truly how I feel.
Mhm.
My older sister and my husband are both role models in different ways. My sister is somebody who I've always wanted to be just like her.
Mhm.
She's pure as, I mean, just salt of the earth. But she's been through her valleys too.
Mhm.
And I've seen her in her valleys, and she has come out stronger. And seeing that is like, golly, man, that's what I don't want to go through the valleys that she went through. But I hope that if I ever have anything like that, I can face it like she has.
Mhm.
But my husband, I say he's a hero. He's actually a work mentor to me. If I'm ever having issues, because our work kind of aligns, our careers align a little bit. If I
Mhm.
ever have a sticking point or a difficult customer, or something's going on, a sale isn't going through, I always talk to him about it and seek his counsel. And he's also just, he is who he is. He doesn't apologize for it.
Mhm.
He's the guy that helped me bring this confidence out of me, and you know, help build me to be the person that I am. So I thank him for that. But yeah, sorry, I don't have like a movie star or
No,
an author or
I
anything.
absolutely, I love that. I love that. That's, yeah, it's true and it's amazing. And it's awesome that you have those two people in your life that you can really, rely on, because we
Yeah.
all need that. We all need somebody that we can just be like, I had a day, or, I'm going through
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
So, okay, so where can listeners find you?
The easiest way to say it is I'm Fit Fish Mom on all of the socials, and it's Fit. My last name is Fisher. I'm a mom, Fit Fish Mom. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and then www.fitfishmom.com is my program, which is coming out with an app in March, but it is just an online mobile friendly experience right now.
Oh, I love that. And I'll put all that information in the show notes so that everybody can find
Thank you.
you and be motivated by you. And Jenny and I would love, if you've listened to this episode and you loved it, please tag us both on Instagram and tell us exactly what you enjoyed about it, because we would love to hear it. And there was a little bit of problem with internet connection in the very beginning, I think on my end. So hopefully you guys are able to hear anything. But if something cut out and you're like, what did you say then? Or what happened? We can help you with that. But I just want to say thank you so much for chatting with me today. I know you're super, super busy. It's right before Christmas time. You're trying to do all the things. And it was just fun to have I felt like I was hanging out with one of my girlfriends.
Absolutely. I got that vibe too. And so it's reciprocated, because I really appreciate the fact that you're putting this stuff out here to help empower, especially other women, but just empower people, give them confidence, give them real life of like, this is what I go through every day, and this might help you. And that's what I'm doing. And it's making a difference. So I thank people being authentic with their own experiences like you are.
Oh, thank you so much. So this episode will probably come out next week sometime. I'll get you the date. But I thank you everybody for listening. I appreciate you. Remember, you got this. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you love this episode, make sure you are subscribed so you know when more episodes come available. My goal is to inspire others to become their vision, and one way to get the word out is with reviews. I would really appreciate it if you left an honest review on iTunes, and it would mean so much to me. Thanks again, and remember to go after the life you want. Bye, guys.